Welcome to the Corporate Treasury 101 podcast. This is the third and last segment of our interview with Lee-Ann Perkins, Assistant Treasurer at Specialized Bicycle Components and member of the Nacha Advisory Board. In the episode, we discuss a real-life example of future-proofing through a redesign of a Treasury department and implementation of new systems. We were really keen on interviewing Lee-Ann as she's an amazing Treasury advocate and a fantastic guest. You will soon discover how and why in the episode. In the episode of today, expect to learn a successful future-proofing concept implemented by Lee-Ann. How did she advocate for this change project to leadership? How she managed to do this whole transformation with only her team and in such a short period of time? What is the amazing cash flow forecasting tool that saved Lee-Ann's life? Yes, those are her words, and much, much more. We hope you will enjoy the episode as much as we did discussing with Lee-Ann. If that is the case, please consider leaving us a review on your favorite podcast app. Your support means the world to us and helps the podcast thrive so we can interview more and more amazing guests like Lee-Ann. With all that being said, please welcome Lee-Ann Perkins.
So please take us through your own personal experience, if you could, Lee-Ann, of when you've done a future-proofing yourself. Do you have a specific example that comes to mind?
Great. I had a really interesting experience in a company over COVID where I was really happy with the successful future-proofing project that we put into place. And, I think with future-proofing, it always needs to start with having a problem to solve. So what is it that we needed to do in the Treasury Department to help us future-proof the company? And our problem at the time was liquidity. We did not, and this was a global company, we did not know where all the cash was. We had a good idea of most of it, but not all of it. We didn't always know in which currency it was in. And we didn't always have a plan as to how we were going to deploy the cash from where it was sitting back to the US where we most needed it. And fortunately for us, this project started a year before COVID hit. So we, as a Treasury Department, realized that we needed to fix liquidity. We could no longer, due to the size of the company, just use spreadsheets and manually input cash from around the world. It was taking too long, and we weren't certain of the accuracy of our information. So we started with our team assessing where we were and what the end goal was and what we needed to make this happen. What process did we have to put in place, and what automation tools did we need? We also knew that we needed resources, so we had to sell the project to our C-suite, and we need to hire the right person who had experience in implementing ERPs and who was able to source the right ERP for us. So we started by hiring correctly, and then we went out to Treasury conferences in the US and we met with a number of Treasury software providers. And what we did, I think what was unique when we went to these conferences was to go with a list of what we needed, what was our absolute requirement, what was the budget that we had, and knowing that we needed a fit-for-purpose Treasury workstation, one that was affordable, and we weren't buying more than we needed at the time. And we were able to sift through different providers based on those requirements, knowing that, we couldn't afford an SAP at the time, but we could afford a cloud service that, was able to give us what we needed. So we did a lot of research into it. We also created our own BIC, which required some IT assistance, but not much, but mostly work on the Treasury Department side to get compliant with SWIFT. But that was absolutely worth the effort and the energy that we put into it. So eventually, it didn't take us very long to find the provider that we needed who was affordable and could help us through the project. And then we created a complete project out of implementing this EMS. It was filled with the right project management skills, knowing that we could complete the project on time and to the required budget. So that was very important for us. And when the system was put in and tested and everything was automated, we obviously had completed the goal of knowing where the cash was and how to deploy it. It was very successful for us. But then we knew we had to go one step further, and that was to have a forecasting tool that would be able to either integrate or be used with the TMS system to ensure we knew where our cash was on a 13-week basis. And it was taking too long. We were having one person's time fully dedicated to forecasting during the week, and we were a lean department, didn't have the time to do that. So we again went out to the local Treasury conference. We went with the same requirements as we did with the TMS, and we got ourselves a cloud-based AI forecasting tool, which was absolutely the best tool. I still to this day think it's the most impactful and effective forecasting tool on the market. But we again implemented this forecasting tool with the same project management approach. And once these were both implemented, we were able to reduce the man hours from 5 days a week to 1 day a week to get our forecast. First of all, to know where our cash was, and then to get our forecast updated at the beginning of the week. And it was very useful for not only just the Treasury Department and our use of time, but also for management and those making decisions based on the cash position. And then COVID hit about 3 months after we had fully implemented these systems. Then our board was requiring us to turn the forecast more often than we had been in the past. And we would never have been able to do this and to comply with the board's requirements if we did not have this automation process in place. So I think the timing was just fortuitous for us, and we had been planning to mature the department, about 2 years earlier. So I think that was one of the best decisions we ever made. And then making it happen. It's easy to have ideas, but to actually put them into place and bring them to fruition takes, the dream team. It takes everyone pulling their weight and reaching for the same goal to ensure it happened. And it was a very well-received project. It was very useful for the Treasury Department, for the CFO, for the board. And I just think it's a great example of putting in processes and procedures when times are good, because when they're not, you do not have the time or the resources to do it. So I think it's all about putting plans in place now for when you need them down the road.
Lee-Ann, so that's an amazing example. So many questions are coming to my mind. First of all, I would like to highlight the fact that you basically did a system selection or mini RFP by going yourself to conferences and exhibition shows to ask your questions directly to the vendors and then select the best one. Is that what you actually did?
Yes, that's a good, you nailed it. Hey, that's exactly what we did. We didn't have the time or resources to go out and do RFPs. We just decided, let's do it ourselves. Let's take the bull by the horns and make this happen.
That's super impressive. But so basically you did select and implement a new Treasury workstation or TMS. You implemented a BIC. You selected the cash flow forecasting tool and implemented it. And as you said, you made all this happen, not only just having the idea and selecting it. Did you do this all by yourself, or did you surround with that project management team? But were those resources you hired internally, or were those outsourced resources?
And I think this is, true for a lot of Treasury professionals, is that we're so limited on resources. We had a Treasury department of 3. So we were, sometimes that's bigger than most companies have, but we were lucky with that. And we used the project management skills that I had learned through my education, but also from our Treasury manager who had experience in this area. And then we coupled that with our TMS provider who created a great schedule for us and ensured that we all had buy-in and were able to get to the deliverables on the time that was in the timeline. And we all, we worked very hard to make that happen. but we had very limited IT resources internally. So we relied very much on our TMS provider to help us through the process of implementing our own bit as well. So it was very much our Treasury internal team, along with our TMS provider, who managed that process. And on the AI forecasting side, the provider is just more than gracious with their time. And they actually came to our offices and in one day helped us to get everything up and running exactly the way we needed it. And so that was the external assistance we got for a 1 day period. So it was an amazing project. I'm still very proud of it.
Yeah, you get that's super impressive. How did you, so back to one of your previous comments, how did you advocate and sell all this to leadership? Because as you mentioned, this has a certain cost, right? And even if you have a limited budget for all this, you were probably having a budget. How did you convince leadership to follow you into this? And before the results came in, right? Because once everything is implemented, it's future-proof, it helps during COVID. That's all great because they see it. But before that, how did you advocate for this?
I think it started from very much the time I started at the company. I was able to build trust with my boss. We had a really good working relationship, and it all started with me, proving to the CFO that when he asks for something to happen, he can consider it done. So we built up that trust. I had many small wins along the way, in the Treasury department. And so I think once he had trust in me and knew that he could hand over the Treasury decisions to me, that was when I started explaining my Treasury maturity strategy to him. He was very excited by it. He bought into it as long as he didn't have to do it. So he was very much on board with my vision for the Treasury department because it matched also the strategy of the global company, but also that he had the trust in me that if I thought it was the right thing to do, then he would help me with what I needed. In terms of resources, it was a sell to our C-suite, and it wasn't without difficulty. There was a lot of ensuring that the quantitative side of it made sense to the C-suite and the use of resources made sense to them. We did a great presentation. So we had gathered all the facts in the Treasury team. We gathered everything down to how much time and how much money we needed from the company. And we presented to the panel as to the importance of this project, the benefits to the company, and our whole Treasury team involved in that. And they could see that we were very dedicated to the solution and that it would ultimately, at the end of the day, it would meet the needs that the company had. And the company wanted to know where the cash was at all times. And knowing that, we were outgrowing a spreadsheet, I think they understood the need to pay now and have the dividends return down the road. So I think it starts with any project. It starts with having the trust of the person who's selling it to you and knowing that if they say that they're going to make this happen, that it will be done and it won't be wasting the company's money. So they need to know that, and they need to know that it has, at the end of the day, a solution for a problem that they are saddled with. And the CFO is always saddled with the liquidity problem. So if that can be solved through the solution, then they help me, purchase what was needed. And we also negotiated a very good contract with our providers that we could pay monthly. It wouldn't be a long-term commitment if, we just didn't have the funds for it at the time. So it's all about negotiating with your vendors as well, a mutually beneficial contract for both sides. So I think it was, very much part of the project is selling it, but it's also influencing your C-suite to know that this solution will help them at the end of the day.
100%. How long did it take in total to go from, okay, guys, we have a problem to we have a fully up and running cloud-based AI forecasting tool?
It was 8 months.
That's super short.
I know.
Oh my God.
At the end of the day, that's actually a really short project. At the time it felt longer because it was a lot because we had to do that on top of our daily work as well. But it's a very tight deadline, and we made it happen. So we accomplished a lot in 8 months.
I'm super impressed. I mean, from experience, certain TMS implementation only, not selecting it, benchmarking it, negotiating, and so on. Just the implementation of the TMS, which is only one of the things you did, takes more than 8 months. So that's super impressive.
Because you had the dream team.
Yeah, definitely. But now I understand the name of it. Definitely, that's a dream team you had here. I don't know if you feel like it, but can we know about this amazing forecasting tool that you had? What's the name of the company?
Yes, can I say that?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, it's called Data Rails. They're an Israeli-based company. I think, I tell them all the time, they saved my life. If we hadn't had that through COVID, I would still be working on the forecast today. It's a centralized platform, basically, that they create. It collaborates in real time. It automates repetitive tasks, and it really improves. At the end of the day, it improves the accuracy of the financial models. It was very easy to use. It's very easy to implement. We even learned on the back end how to program some of the tools and the modules that we needed, so we could, help ourselves. It's a fantastic tool, and I definitely suggest you look into it.
Wow, will definitely. That's a hell of a kudos for them. And yeah, for sure, we are totally comfortable with sharing names. We are not sponsored by Data Rails. If anybody from Data Rails is listening to this right now and you're interested into it, do not hesitate. But super cool. Okay, no, it's good to know about this. Super interesting. Thank you so much, Lee-Ann. Look, it has been an amazing episode full of insights. Is there anything else you would like to add in terms of treasury maturity, future-proofing, transforming your treasury department, the right people, the right resources? Anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, and I thank you for having me on and being able to talk treasury. It's one of my favorite topics. But, to sum it up, I would just say, when working to mature the department and to future-proof the function, as you go through all these projects, remember that the devil's in the details, but the success is in the strategy. You've got to start with knowing what you want to accomplish. You've got to be strategic about these projects. So remember that advice. And I think also, be an advocate for the treasury profession. We have so much going for us. We have so much future and runway in treasury. And remember, as you go through your daily tasks and as you start to mature your department, remember it's about having integrity for yourself, with those with you work with. It's about having a positive mindset and attitude, having passion for what you do, and being very resilient, because treasury is not free of difficulty. It's not free of stress, but you can use these tough situations to help yourself and your team develop and learn and grow in treasury. And my last bit of advice is, please reach out to those coming up behind you. Advocate for them just as others have done for us in our careers.
Wow, that's very beautiful. I propose we stop on this. Lee-Ann, if people would like to reach out to you, know more about you or your company, where should they go?
Oh, please go to LinkedIn. I am there. LinkedIn. I'm always growing my network and learning from LinkedIn, so that's the best way to reach out to me.
Amazing. Lee-Ann, thank you so much for this episode. It was amazing. Great insights. Really loved it. Thank you so much.
You too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.